Claudia Lawrence was last seen on March 1st, 2009, after her morning shift as a chef at the University of York in England. Police believe that Lawrence was abducted and possibly murdered while walking her usual 3-mile route to work on the early morning of March 19th.
Nobody knows where Claudia is or if she's even still alive.
My name is John.
And I'm Brienne.
We are the hosts of What Happened To, a show where we discuss missing persons cases and the theories surrounding them that hold hidden secrets.
In today's episode, we're going to explore how a much-loved chef disappeared without a trace. Claudia Lawrence was born into a wonderful life. But by 2007, she had created the life that she had always dreamed of. Despite the people who questioned her, Claudia had put in the work to become a full-time chef, just like she always wanted. At work, Claudia was the boss, and she was already making a name for herself because her food was just that good.
Becoming a full-time chef is not easy, and Claudia was rightfully proud of her accomplishments. She grew up in a loving family in Yorkshire with her father, Peter Lawrence, who was a prosperous solicitor, and her mother, Joan, who was a member of the town council and actually served as the city mayor for some time. Growing up with such a committed family, Claudia received opportunities that others did not. And unlike a lot of people in her circumstance, she actually made the most out of it.
Claudia excelled in her classes at the York College for Girls and even scored top marks at a local catering college. After graduation, she was employed by York's Goodricke College and was even able to buy a quaint cottage home in an attractive and quiet suburb in Heworth, which was only 3 miles away from her work. When she disappeared, police treated the case as a top priority.
It's a well-known fact that England is a prolific user of CCTV. In fact, England has some of the highest number of surveillance cameras per area in the world. So this made tracing Claudia's footsteps really, really easy. Claudia usually showed up for work by 6 a.m. every single morning. And in fact, most days she was even a tad bit early for her shift. And by 2 p.m., she was done for the day and ready to head out. The CCTV at the university caught Claudia leaving work on March 18th.
When Claudia left, she realized that she wasn't alone. A close friend spotted her walking the 3 miles to her home, and they were kind enough to offer her a ride. She accepted, and they dropped her off on the road to her home. But before you get any ideas, I do just want to say that police are not treating this friend like a person of interest.
I'm glad you just said that because I was actually beginning to wonder.
True crime does make you question who your friends really are. Come to think of it, John, I'm not sure I know you all that well.
Don't worry about that. I'm just like you, a normal person who loves murder. I mean, talking about murder.
Uh-huh.
Another one of Claudia's friends confirmed that she was dropped off at home, and at 3:05 p.m., she was actually spotted walking out to drop off her mail before returning to her house. Claudia spent that evening making calls and texting loved ones, something that plenty of people confirmed later, and this is a problem for this case. Claudia's cell phone, which was a Samsung D900, is still missing to this day.
Claudia talked to her usual crowd. She spoke with her parents, and they told police that she seemed normal and relaxed. Basically, there was no indication that Claudia feared for her life or was even aware of any danger. At the end of the call, she announced she needed to turn in early for work.
Walking 3 miles to work isn't all that much, right? But it is more than a lot of us would prefer to do. In this case, Claudia was walking because her car was actually in the shop for repairs. Unfortunately, it seems that those 3 miles might have been enough time and space for someone to grab Claudia and make her disappear forever. The last text message she received from a friend was at 8:23 p.m. This friend that she texted lives in Cyprus, and when Claudia disappeared, they actually sent a task force out there to question the individuals in the area.
Another text came in at 9:12, but Claudia never answered. When she vanished, her father was faced with an unnerving task. He had to go into her home to look for her. Her father was terrified that he would walk in and find her hurt or worse, but as she walked from one room to the next and learned that she was gone, he became even more unsettled. Where was Claudia? Inside the home, there weren't any signs of struggle. Her handbag, purse, bank cards, and passport were all inside.
That is not good.
No, it generally isn't, and it got even more weird. Her phone, her backpack, and a set of hair straighteners were missing.
Wait, hair straighteners?
Yeah, I'm not sure how they noticed that those were missing, but it was apparently a point of focus in this case.
Well, okay then. Police strongly believe that Claudia left for work at 5 a.m., just as she always does. When the ever-punctual Claudia failed to show up, her boss grew worried, and I'm sure a little impatient. He called her cell phone several times that morning when she didn't show up, but he never got through. Then something even more concerning happened. Claudia's phone was deliberately shut off at exactly 12:10 p.m. that day. Her phone was still in the local area, but the exact location of it was never received.
I know that the technology in 2009 wasn't the most advanced, but it does seem odd that they couldn't at least identify where it was before it was turned off.
Agreed.
Police received a few reported sightings that seemed to match Claudia's description. A cyclist saw a female walking on the Melrose Gate Bridge at 5:35 a.m., which does seem to match up with her usual timeline. Another individual noticed a couple arguing outside of the university about 30 minutes later. Police couldn't confirm whether or not it was Claudia, but they did catch the man on CCTV walking away from the university.
If it was Claudia, then who was this man?
I don't know about you, but I try to schedule my arguments after 8 a.m.
Right? Police were also looking for the driver of a Ford Focus that was seen outside of Claudia's home with their brake lights on, as well as a rusty white van. Yeah, that's what they said.
Nothing good ever comes from a rusty white van. It literally screams abduction and murder at top volume.
Yeah, right? And it gets much worse. Apparently, this van was spotted trying to talk to women along the same route that Claudia took on her morning walks to work.
Well, that's enough to make my stomach sink. According to those who knew her, Claudia was outgoing and considered a socialite. She was known to spend times at the Nag's Head pub with her friends, and it was kind of a hunting ground for her. It was at that very pub that Claudia had met several of the men that she had dated during her time in that region. And some of these men were eventually investigated.
Some of these men were also married when they were questioned by police. To get the truth, police had to discreetly question the men so that their wives would not know about their relationships with Claudia.
Oof. I guess that makes sense. I can see a lot of guys locking up and refusing to speak freely if their wives knew the truth. It's a good reminder that police serve the law, not necessarily what someone might consider right or wrong.
Yeah, and I'm sure these men were grateful for the police discretion. It became clear to police very quickly that Claudia Lawrence was also discreet about her lifestyle. Detective Ray Galloway said, quote, "As the investigation has developed, it's become apparent that some of Claudia's relationships had an element of complexity and mystery to them. I'm certain that some of her relationships were not known to her family or friends." End quote.
Don't you always find this so fascinating? We all walk through life and think that we know the people closest to us, but true crime shows us time and time again that we don't.
Oh, come on now. I tell my mother everything.
This is the perfect example. John, a trusted friend, my own co-host, is lying to me right now. In September of 2009, police visited Cyprus to question several of Claudia's friends living on the island. They didn't make an arrest, and as far as we know, they didn't end up with any truly useful information either.
In March of 2010, police searched multiple areas of York, including a child's play area. I'm not sure why they investigated that location or what they expected to find there, but to me it seems a little weird.
It's only weird if we make it weird, John.
Technically true, but it doesn't change the fact that they didn't find anything. Then something changed. In 2013, Claudia's disappearance was passed on to the Major Crimes Unit.
You don't mean...
Yes, the Vulture.
We had something great in the palm of our hands, and then someone swooped in at the last minute and stole it? There's only one person who would do that.
No, but it couldn't be.
Yes, the Vulture.
So they, what, showed up just to clean up the case that was almost completely solved?
Not quite. The Major Crimes Unit actually found additional evidence, including DNA and additional fingerprints. They even arrested 6 different men on the suspicion of murdering Claudia Lawrence, but no one ever confessed to the crime.
It's crazy that they appeared to have such a breakthrough and then nothing came of it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sadly, Claudia's father passed away earlier this year at the age of 74 without ever knowing what happened to his daughter. But there is some good news.
In March of this year, police actually revived Claudia's case and issued a fresh call for new information.
This summer, in August, police resumed searching around woodlands and fishing lakes in York. The case is currently ongoing, and police are optimistic that they'll be able to find out what happened to her.
But until then, join us next week for more missing persons cases and strange circumstances that surround them.